This is a pack of Poundland Nooky Viagra pills, and this is a interference suppressor out of an Indesit or Hotpoint washing machine, or probably many other washing machines. It's a very standard component. So that's a really good combination. So let's start by taking the Viagra. And these Nooky pills, it's got some ingredients listed in the back. I've got a scaled up version of that here so we can read it together. So, drive hard and push your potential to the max. Take 2 of these energy-enhancing pills 40 minutes before playtime to stay strong and enjoy longer with a huge raging boner. So, how to use, take 40 minutes before the desired chubby. And it says do not exceed 2 capsules in any 12-hour period. I guess that means you're allowed to have sex twice a day then with these. And then the ingredients list things like guarana. Is that how you pronounce that? Guarana, which is 22% caffeine. Arginine monohydrochloride. Not sure, I should maybe look this up. Ginger root. Caffeine anhydrous, which is pure caffeine. Korean ginseng extract. Cayenne pepper. Is that not a cayenne powder? Is that not a pepper powder? Not sure. Cayenne, is that a pepper? Fenugreek extract. Saw palmetto. Cocoa extract and bulking agents, rice flour. I wonder how much it is rice flour inside. So really these aren't so much Viagra as a sort of a caffeine-based energy pill, this sort of caffeine guarana type thing. Oh, and it says contains high caffeine content, total is 144 milligram per serving of 2 pills. That's still a lot less than a medium latte out of Starbucks. In fact, Starbucks have toxic levels of caffeine in their drinks. That's why they're so popular. Now, I also want to mention anhydrous. Is that the word I'm looking for? Caffeine anhydrous. Caffeine powder, pure caffeine powder, is available on the internet. If you ever get the urge to buy any of it because it's used in the sporting industry for an energy boost, just remember this. It's extremely toxic. You literally weigh it out in milligrams, like the tiniest quantity. You'd have to use drug-type scales to actually weigh it out, because if you were to just stick a teaspoon into a cup of coffee to boost it, you would probably kill yourself. It's that toxic. So caffeine is okay in small quantities, but as I say, you can buy it on the internet, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can poison yourself with it. That's a downer. This is an upper. Let's take this. So I got a nice hot cup of tea here. Here are the blue pills. Lots of packing for these blue pills. Kind of tempted to open one. Is that going to make a huge mess if I open one? Is it going to spoil all the super hard-on action if I pour the guts out at first? Oh, it's well packed. Yeah, that wasn't a good idea, was it? I shouldn't have done that. Let's try and get the lid back on that and then try and put the rest of it in. Oh, God, that is really fucking horrible. Oh, that is so bitter. Right, okay. Top tip. That's so bitter. That is really, really bitter. Top tip, if you want to ruin someone's dinner, open one of these capsules and, pour that in it. There's definitely ginger, there's definitely pepper. Good Lord. That is just absolutely, I wish I hadn't done that now. Oh well, lesson learned. Or have I? So here's the other capsule. Nice cup of tea to wash it down with. And now I've partaken of my Viagra, fake Viagra, I can drop that in the bin and we can get on to the interesting bit, that was quite interesting actually. So this is an interference suppressor. If you recall that I recently opened my washing machine before I'd even used it and pointed out all the components, this is the interference suppressor that was sitting in the back. So this is a module that physically slides into the housing on the machine and the cable is molded into it. So if you, for instance, damage the cable in the machine or the interference suppressor goes, everything gets changed. It's just a couple of screws come out, a couple of terminals get pulled off, and then this whole thing gets slotted in place and that replaces it. I thought this was closed on the other side. I'm going to sneeze because that powder is still burning my tongue and it went right up the nose. That is spectacular. You know, that's the best way to take those pills. Definitely. You could sprinkle that in your food. It would be amazing. So If you want an interference suppressor, probably one of the best ways to buy them is as a complete built module. And it has all the components inside, and then it's just got the spade terminals going in and the spade terminals going out. But this one is designed for mass-produced appliances, and it's quite interesting the way it's constructed. I'm also noticing that it not only has the schematic of what's inside it, but it's also got the component values marked on it, and then they've stamped over the top of it, which isn't terribly helpful. But let's take a look at the construction. So the mains is coming in. It's coming in, the live is the brown in the European colour code, and blue is the neutral. And they're going straight to this common mode suppression choke. So now we know that they're going into that, we can remove some wires. So let's pull the earth wire off this metal plate. Oop. And let's get, there's a clip here for holding the wires. Let's see if I can grab a pair of long nose pliers and hoik that terminal off without stabbing myself in the process. Oh, that is on quite tight. That is not one to come off. It might actually have clipped in the plastic. Right, tell you what, since this is just being got for taking to bits, let's lop those wires off and get the wire out the marshalling arrangement. Right, so now I'm guessing that this is going to slide out because there's a bit of sideways movement. And the only thing I can see that's holding it back is a little clip here. So is there a screwdriver I can use to just lift that little clip and see if this will slide? Is it going to slide? No, it's not going to slide. Oh, it's actually, oh, it has just slid. Okay. So what do we have? We have the main earthing plate here, which the mains earth went on there, and once it's clamped into the machine, these screws presumably hold it onto the metal casing, plus any auxiliary earths can then go onto these spare two terminals. The output just go onto these two, and it may actually be a single connector. It has those two spade receptacles in it already. Does this come apart any further? It kind of does in a way, but I'm not really sure how. Let's just try. Oh yes, that slides off. Is it going to be beneficial if it slides off? I don't think it is. No, it's not. Oh well. Let's break it then. I could just take it apart in a controlled manner, but this is going to be the easiest way to do it. I mean, this has been got to sacrifice itself for our greater knowledge. It's not revealing a huge amount more. Let's cut those connections there and there, and see if this common mode choke will come out. There we go. That's revealing a lot more, isn't it? And these are glued together in a little cluster. So we've got a resistor down here. Blue, grey, yellow. Blue, grey, 6, 8 and 4 zeros. 680k, which is the discharge resistor across this, which is probably a class X2 capacitor. It says 470 nanofarad, 0.47 megafarad, class X2. That is an X2 capacitor across the supply after the common mode suppression choke. And then there's the two, it goes straight to the two tabs that the spade connectors go on. But then we've also got these two capacitors, which I'm guessing would be class Y capacitors, because they appear to be centered tapped onto this connection here, which is off the metal plate, the earth plate. And that would suggest they are ground terminals. They are class Y capacitors because they have to be a fairly low value of capacitor so they don't couple too much current. And they have to be rated, they have to be designed so they fail in a safe manner so they don't pass current to the protective ground, the protective earth. So yes, these are 0.027 microfarad, which is 27 nanofarad Y2. Right, okay, so let's doodle this down. Let's doodle this suppressor down. We've got the mains coming in, AC in, let's call it live and neutral, hot and return, whatever you want to call it. And we've got the common mode suppression choke, and it's got, how am I going to draw this? It's got a winding round like that, and then a winding round like that. And the idea of a common mode suppression choke is that if the current's coming in through, say, the live, it's actually alternating, but whatever way it's going, the current coming in through live and back out through neutral is going to create, they're both going to create a field in the same direction. So you're going to get a slight magnetic field rotating sort of in the toroidal core. But if common mode noise with reference to ground, that electrical interference is trying to get out, and they're both coming across these leads here, then they actually create a magnetic rotation, a magnetic field in both directions, and it creates a back EMF, and that kind of makes this a sort of high impedance. It makes it harder for the noise to get back out. Quite hard to describe. Did I even describe it correctly? I think so. So then after that, we've got the capacitor, the X2 capacitor, which is just designed to, it acts as a shunt to transients, because a fast transient has to charge that capacitor up. The normal mains frequency of 50 or 60 hertz wouldn't actually have much effect. A small current would flow. I mean, 470 nanofarads is a modest, that's a modest value. I'm thinking now, you know what? See the smart meters that are being installed, they measure what's called real power, and also they can measure what's called apparent power. Apparent power is the current would flow through this capacitor without actually generating any heat or useful function. The smart meters, I'm so suspicious that because they can measure both, but they're supposedly set to measure real power, the utility companies one day will just switch that over, and suddenly things like this little capacitor in here will suddenly start being registered as use of power, even when the washing machine isn't even running. So that'll be interesting to see what happens if they ever do that. And I'm sure they will, because let's face it, they're run by promotion-seeking people, and they've got huge pensions to pay, so they'll do that at some point. So this X2 capacitor is rated 470 nanofarad. That's a 470 nanofarad X2, which is the X2 indicates it's designed for going across the mains. We've got the 680k resistor. That's so that when you unplug the washing machine from the wall and you touch the pins, you don't get a wee zing off it, because it discharges that capacitor. Then that's going out to the load, but also there are two small capacitors, one from neutral, one from live, and they're going to an earth connection, and they'll pass any sort of interference with respect to the case. They'll shunt it onto that, which is just another layer of the noise. Probably the higher frequencies, I'm guessing. Switching noise and transients and arcs and stuff like that. So between the capacitor across the mains and the two to earth, it kind of gives you a fairly complete suppressor. I mean, this is basically what you would find inside one of those little suppression blocks. So that's live out to machine, and in. And that is it. So yes, I'm just going to check, do I have a huge Viagra boner yet? No, I don't. So that's a bit disappointing, but maybe that will happen later on. It's also worth mentioning that the cable really it's moulded into this. Is it glued or is it physically moulded? It does look physically moulded. I wonder if they've put glue on it, or if, I mean, that pattern almost suggests it has been sort of injection molded round, but it doesn't look as close to it as that, so I'm guessing there might just be some adhesive involved. Shall we use excessive force? Yes, we shall. Let's get this out. Let's use a pair of pliers to chop it there, and then use unreasonable force. That was quite crunchy sounding, like glue. Was that glue? Is the sleeve coming out? The sleeve is coming out. I think that was just fed through and glued. It looks like it. It looks like it was just glued. Okay, so that answers that. It's not moulded into the plastic during manufacture. And at this point in time, because, just as a wee token gesture to safety, I shall remove the fuse in this plug. Because you're supposed to do that if you've cut a plug off and you've got a cable end sticking out, just in case some random kid picks it up. Not that I have a kid, not that I'm ever going to have a kid, but you know, it's worth mentioning. So yes, that was, again, this is cost optimized. It's just absolutely super simple. It's designed for ease of replacement. And I suppose ultimately you'll get different leads with different countries' plugs. You'll get the Schuko plug for parts of Europe. And in our case, we've got the traditional British square pin fuse plug. and they'll just be pre-molded onto these, and then they just need to clip it in, a couple of screws, couple of terminals, and either you've made the machine ready for a particular country or you've repaired it by replacing the whole flex and the suppressor. Pretty neat and super cost optimized.